Indiana Jones. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast in which we celebrate and discuss the film Raiders of the Lost Ark 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor from IamTomTaylor.com.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Jerry Porter.
And I'm Kevin Maher from the Kevin Geeks Out Show, a video variety series in Brooklyn you can learn more about at kevingeeksout.com.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us again, Kevin.
My pleasure.
It's good to have you here in the map room with us. It's getting clammy.
Well, it's good to be here. I feel like this is going to be one where I can use some of my knowledge of bad movies to talk about this good movie. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's all right. Minute 54. That's what we're here for. That begins with Indy preparing to place the Staff of Ra in a certain place in a certain time of day, and it ends with the light of the red crystal about to reach a specific building on the floor. And we see here Indy, he gets the headpiece on the staff. He sticks the staff finally into the right hole that he's found. And I actually have two questions. A, how did they know the right circumference to make the staff? How do they know how big the holes were going to be, and that that the staff was actually going to fit in the hole? I have three questions. And how do they know like how deep the hole was going to be? Because you can see like the bottom part of the staff is like narrower so that it can fit in the hole and then still be the right height. And I could have brought this up last minute too, I think, because I think it's like right between the 2 minutes, but the headpiece now has like a candle holder sort of end to it, which I don't think it had before. Before it was just like the headpiece, just a circle. And now it's got like this metal sort of not cone, but like a little cylinder coming off it to fit on the staff. Am I crazy?
Yeah, you see, no, you're right. You see him affixing it to the staff, but you don't really. It's not like a screw-on.
No. He just kind of slides it on there.
He kind of, they don't really show you. He kind of slides it on. But you're right. It does have that little. I was
reading the screenplay online, and it makes the point that the headpiece has been welded together to fit onto the staff.
Oh,
so
weird.
Unseen, there has been some welding work done to put that extra piece so that it fits onto the staff. Otherwise, he's going to have to eyeball it.
So to be clear, you need the staff custom or fashioned, and you need the right headpiece. You need the right length of the staff in the right hole. Yes, in the right hole at the right time.
With like a brass tapered end that fits perfectly into the hole.
Right.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's got to be one of those things where it's like, oh, you want a flathead, not a Phillips head. You get the one small mistake, and you're going to be digging in the wrong spot.
Got to go all the way back into Cairo to the hardware store to get the right screw. Where's Sala?
Nah, I'm going to give that one up to Yahweh.
Right.
Yeah,
it's the Force.
Yeah, he's pulling for him. He's like, it's all good. He's hot. Yahweh's like, Harrison Ford, he's hot.
Yeah, he'll put it in a museum. He's good.
Don't worry about it. It'll work.
I got you.
Can I read a line from the screenplay that I found just really charming?
Please do.
It talks about the moment where he is adjusting the staff and getting it into place. Indy takes the Staff of Ra and places it, clink, in the right depression on the baseline. And here's this great. This is as active and exciting moment as any archaeologist can dream of. And at heart, that is exactly what Indy is. So for all of our talk that he's not really much of an archaeologist, the screenplay goes out of its way to remind us, this guy's an archaeologist.
Oh, he's an archaeologist. Okay.
Oh yeah, make no mistake.
Well, you know what? I gotta say, he does. I think it happens a little bit more in the next minute, but yeah, this scene actually does. You know, we've seen Indy light up a little bit, like when he saw the Idol back in South America and stuff, and he's gotten excited about some stuff before. But in this scene, he does seem almost more like enraptured or something. He's like he can't believe what's happening right now. He's like actually super. I'll just say, I don't know, stoked. He's excited. He's yeah, he is kind of, as that just described, he is an archaeologist who has, this means everything to him, and you can kind of see it on his face. And yeah, in ways that you almost are surprised by, given like, how sort of seat of his pants kind of magical, out of superstitious hocus pocus he is most of the time.
And they do set that up in the previous minute by giving him a brush.
That's true. Without that brush, you'd be like, hey, this guy isn't an archaeologist. What does he care?
Yeah. But you're like, as far as I'm concerned, for the rest of the movie, Indiana Jones, Dr. Jones, is an archaeologist.
I was going to say, one of the things this movie did for me is I sort of became an archaeology nut after I saw this when I was a kid. And I've always loved ancient Egypt and everything, especially since this. And the wall paintings in this scene are incredible. And a lot of them are straight out of like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but they have some kind of interesting modifications, which I'll get to more in the next minute. But it's interesting because you see a lot of falcons. I'll just say there are a lot of falcons represented here.
What's the significance of the falcons?
Oh,
Well,
do tell, Pete.
we have a theory going. Well, some of us do, that the Indiana Jones movies are the fever dream that Han Solo has while he's encased in carbonite.
I read that online.
So there's
falcons.
things.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got it. Understood.
And when you look behind, like when you look at the wall opposite Indy, there's kind of a standard Book of the Dead scene where Horus, who's the god of the sky, has a falcon head, and he's leading these two twins into the underworld, and he's leading them to Osiris, who's kind of the god of the underworld. And in the place of where the judgment usually is, someone erased it and put the Ark of the Covenant.
Huh.
Oh, are you kidding?
Sort of interesting. It's weird. It's like there's a giant ark, and you can see where it looks like someone erased what was there originally and drew in an ark.
Oh, because I was going to comment on that arc, like that. We were talking about like what's the purpose of the map room and everything, and when you see that arc on the back of the wall, it does seem like, oh, the whole purpose of this entire thing is clearly to find the arc, or it's got something to do with the arc. But that's so you can see that it's actually like replaced.
It looks
it's
like
replacing something.
And normally
else?
that's in the pyramid text or the Book of the Dead. That's where you would see, like the way it worked is when you died, you'd go into the underworld and they'd put your heart on a scale and they'd weigh it against a feather. And if your heart was lighter than the feather, you could go into the underworld. And if your heart was heavier, it meant you sort of lived a bad life, and then you were in trouble. But in place of that judgment is the Ark of the Covenant. So someone's being blasphemous. Either Jack is saying, well, actually, it's the Hebrew God, or else this is, maybe like Jerry was saying, the Israelites came in here somehow, and they were like, oh, you know what? We're going to put our guy in here.
The Ark of the Covenant has a posse.
I'm still stuck on this. I mean, whose heart is lighter than a feather?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Maybe
I've
just exposed myself. But
that's the whole drowning the witch thing.
Yeah,
well, when you die, when you stand before Osiris, you better hope yours is.
I already did this whole 12-year Catholic school thing where it's like you're never allowed to. Your heart's never going to be lighter than a feather.
Yeah, you're doomed. Catholics and Jedi Knights are just constantly doomed by whatever things they did when they were kids. Forever does it dominate their destiny. You stole that one, Laffy Taffy.
Now and later.
You say now and later, I say Laffy Taffy.
I like the now and later. I like the significance of the now and later, that it's a sin you will pay. It's a joy you experience now, which you will feel guilt for later.
It's almost like they named these little penny 5-cent stealable candies exactly for that reason. No, just to tempt kids to hell.
So like now and later with like a prison door shutting.
Now and forever.
Well, I have a question here. So is it true that, when Indy he puts the staff pretty much kind of what looks maybe not dead center, but a nice what would be a popular spot in the middle of the map hieroglyphic whole floor. And it lights up the building that's like dead center of town. Like it lights up. It's like they stored the Ark, the Ark of the Covenant at like First and Main, Kansas.
You're right. Town hall.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's just dead in the center of the map. And like maybe the most conspicuous place, like Public Square.
Yeah,
It's
hiding
true.
in plain sight.
Yeah, would everybody in town have been like, oh, of course, the big, huge Well of the Souls.
They're like,
I guess
well,
that's where the
what's
Ark
so
is.
hidden there? And it's kind of it's. I know there's like tons of different holes, but he seems to just put it in sort of right, maybe not dead center, but pretty close.
Yeah, it's movie framing and stuff.
Well, and then I wondered because Belloc's hole was just two above his or whatever, one Kadam. You're like, so Belloc's going to be digging literally next door.
Yeah.
He's going to be at like Main and Second.
Well, what's weird is when you think about the whole dig that's going on outside, that's like a sprawling, huge thing. Like, you would think that at this point, like, they're only looking for one thing. They're looking for the Well of Souls. So, like, why aren't they just, like, focused in one spot that Belloc now thinks he knows is the place?
Hopefully they snuck some actual archaeologists in and they're doing some kind of sneaky archaeology on the side.
Yeah, is Belloc as bad as Indiana Jones at archaeology? Or archaeology?
And the town, I mean, the town of Tanis doesn't appear to be that big according to the map. I mean, and just ancient cities in general. I mean, they weren't that big. I mean, were they, Pete?
Well, I mean, they were pretty big compared to. I mean, this map doesn't look that. I mean, there are like 10 buildings on here, and when you look later, you can kind of see one of these obelisks, and it's pretty close to one of these other buildings, which makes me think the scale is actually a pretty small town.
Yeah, if you didn't have to uncover the whole thing from sand, it might be kind of easy to just search the town and find the Ark of the Covenant if it hadn't been buried.
Well, and I thought that was classic God overreacting. The town's not that big, You don't need.
And you're mad at one guy.
Yeah, you don't need a year sandstorm to cover up ancient Tanis.
Thanks God.
This is another instance where we could be dealing with. We talked about in other minutes where maybe this is an alternate universe, kind of more Blade Runner than Star Wars, but.
Oh, yeah?
Tanis is one of those things that makes me think that because Tanis was actually pretty extensively excavated already by the 1800s.
Oh, no kidding.
And they had it was a spectacular find, and they found all kinds of really great tombs and everything. Because that was sort of where this was the kind of end of Egyptian power. They called it the Third Intermediate Period. But the empire was kind of collapsing, and they had this brief renaissance where they moved the capital to Tanis.
So does that take you out of the movie when you're like, this would have been picked clean by 1936?
I actually like it better. I think it's I don't know. I like the alternative theory, like the alternate universe idea.
Well, Han Solo didn't know all these details when he was having this dream.
It's a fever dream.
Yeah. So that's why I got
I thought the
upset.
Falcon was going to have something to do with the Nazi eagle.
Oh.
Falcon and the eagle are about to go head to head.
Oh, I like that. Go, kid, go.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of the German, we got all this like crazy red graffiti all over the miniature town in the map room.
Which you have often, if you've ever been to Germany and stayed in a hotel, you've seen this.
I have not, so I haven't.
It's the same sign you put on your doorknob. It says "Do not disturb."
You're kidding.
Nicht stören.
Wow.
Wow.
I need that explained to me then. Like, who wrote that there and why?
And it's got those little velvet ropes around it.
Yeah. See,
Well,
that's
because you don't want
Yeah.
to disturb it.
Yeah, but
you can't
does that
disturb
mean
the
that's
model?
where Belloc digging, or does that mean
Do not disturb. That is really weird. I mean, Sala would understand. It's like, yeah, you're not supposed to disturb it. It's not of this earth. But like, why? That is so weird. Why would they? A, why would they mark it at all? B, why would they write that? And yeah, why do they have the ropes around it and stuff? I mean, did they just have like a little like powwow and they were like, okay, well here, we'll put these cranes here and this aqueduct thing here, and we'll like, get the the rock removers over. Like, are they just planning the dig with those things and stuff, or what? Because there's also there's like that big long I don't know if it looks like it's either a measuring tape or just like it's like something laid across like the length of the middle of the town, sort of like over the Well of Souls and stuff. And I'm like, is that
I thought
like?
that was a measuring tape?
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I thought it was either that or just like, here's where this walkway will go as we're digging or something, like planting stuff over the town.
I thought that just back in antiquity that was tagged by like the Horace 6th Street Killers.
In German.
I didn't notice that it was German, so I was just like, oh yeah, the Horace 6th Street Killers.
Well, I remember being baffled by that as a kid. Just like, now why there's somebody who wrote on this stuff? I didn't connect it with like Belloc or the Nazis or anything. I was like, I don't get. All right, okay, I'm 10.
It's also weird though. Like if Belloc wrote it, why would he have written it in German? Unless it was just like, hey, stay away from this, guys.
Well, there's
not-
two. There's one like square temple that has the ropes around it, and then there's another one that also has the graffiti, right?
Yeah.
No, it's the same one.
Is it?
Yeah, the rope.
Yeah.
There's one that appears to be up in the left corner of the map.
We're all watching.
Based on what we've established about Belloc, that does not look like his handwriting. It's
No,
it's a little too punk rock scribble,
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
for a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah, we need some delicate calligraphy from Belloc, and I'm not seeing
The
it.
red velvet ropes though are total Belloc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He packed those
Yeah.
in Paris before he even left on this trip. He's like, at some point I'm going to need these little, miniature velvet ropes.
So the one other thing I wanted to talk about was how it's really, this is one of the scenes that draws upon another kind of archaeological adventure movie from 1954 called Secret of the Incas. And that's the B movie I alluded to earlier, where Charlton Heston plays a guy named Harry Steele, who goes around in a leather jacket and a fedora, and he's in Peru. And it's at the start of the movie, instead of being like a professor, he doesn't have the dual life of Dr. Jones. He's doing these tours for Americans who come in, and it's made pretty clear that half of the business is these fuddy-duddy old men bring their wife on vacation, and Charlton Heston is having sex with the wife. Like tour after tour, that is what they're paying for. And the wife that we meet early on is Marion Ross, who was the mom on Happy Days.
Wow.
Which kind of comes out of Happy Days probably wouldn't have gone to air without George Lucas's American Graffiti. So we've kind of come full circle, right?
That's incredible. Marion Ravenwood,
Wow, wait,
Marion Ross.
I'm stuck on like Happy Days having sex, Marion Ross having sex.
With Charlton Heston.
Mm-hmm.
The guy from Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen
But
this movie. I've only seen pieces of it, but I think
You don't need to see the whole thing. You can just see a couple of YouTube clips and you're all set. Don't waste your time.
you've convinced me.
Before the whole movie was available on YouTube, I got a DVD of it,
Oh no.
which was not the best use of my money, but I wanted to see it to get all the musical numbers. That's the other thing people will recognize. It's got a Ema Sumac song that's featured in The Big Lebowski. that's the opening credits number. So you'll
Oh, wow.
recognize it right away as like, oh, that's the music that they play at Jackie Treehorn's pad when they're throwing a naked person into the air. So Harry Steele is an adventurer who goes to Peru, and he finds that there's a sunburst. It's made of stone, and everyone's disappointed. It makes no sense that this was supposed to be where the treasure was buried, but nothing's turning up. So he goes in at the right time of day, and he reflects a kind of this golden oval. And when the light comes through the sunburst, it hits and reflects off of the oval and points to somewhere else in the cavern, the cave temple that they're in, because it's man-made, it's not a cave. And it's like, that's where the treasure is buried. That is the secret of the Incas. That is the titular secret of this temple. And Indiana Jones, or rather Raiders of the Lost Ark, is very much standing on the shoulders of this particular scene in the secret of the Incas. And that is the secret of Raiders, that it's borrowing from this forgotten 1954 movie that I imagine fans like us, we would be excited to go back and see it, and then you'd see it and you just ask Pete. It's kind of slow and boring.
It does have kind of it does have kind of a Temple of Doom scene too, with that yellow raft coming out of the plane.
Oh, that's right.
So you don't think that we should do a secret of the Incas minute?
I don't know. I think
podcast.
For the people listening to this podcast, you don't need to go ahead and see it. But if you're hosting this podcast, maybe you will see something that the casual fan is gonna miss out on.
Yeah, there are a lot of moments that are kind of, and it's got a great archaeologist in Robert Young too.
You've got the dueling archaeologist.
Yeah.
I as I said earlier, Charlton Heston knocks boots with Marion Ross.
Oh, it's crazy. I'm not going to get over that. Well, like Belloc, I'm just going to copy off of Pete. Pete's watched this one for us, and I'm just going to take full credit for having seen it. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, Pete, you're the best digger in this podcast.
You're also good, Pete, at letting people know where they can find us online and stuff.
Yeah, find us at Indiana Jones Minute on the Facebook and Twitter and IndianaJonesMinute.com.
And then after you've done all that, please come back here tomorrow for minute 55 of Raiders of the Lost Ark here on the Indiana Jones Minute. Poor Marion Ross.